What is spiritual bypassing and how do you know you are doing it? Welcome to today's video. I'm Elies, your starseed guide and healer. If you haven't already, click subscribe below. That way you'll be notified when I release new video. Now let's begin by what is spiritual bypassing. It basically means you are avoiding or ignoring an issue at hand in the name of spirituality. It comes in many different forms and it manifests differently for everybody. But these are the three common signs that you might be spiritual bypassing. First, you might be overly positive. Now, don't get me wrong, if you're someone who has a positive outlook in life and have a strong faith, amazing. But I'm talking about the overly positive in a disempowering way. For example, I'm going to use an extreme case just to illustrate the point. If someone is inside a house that is burning down in fire, but she is sitting there and doing nothing, instead of trying to call for fire truck or run away from the house or do, whatever you need to do during a fire, but she sits there and go like, oh, everything is gonna be okay. Well, that is avoiding the situation. Make sense? So that is what I mean by overly positive. And the second one is you are trying to feel good all of the time. At the core of trying to feel good all of the time, essentially what you are doing is you're trying to avoid unpleasant feelings or emotions or what people call negative experience. But the truth is there is no negative experience. There are only experiences that feel less good. But the fact that someone is trying to feel good all of the time, that is an example of spiritual bypassing. And the third one is living in a bubble. So it's like you find yourself living in this bubble of a perfect world because you're trying so hard to control every element, like no negative people, no negative news, no negative whatever, because everything needs to be positive. You see the trend? Like it doesn't matter whether you're overly positive or you're trying to feel good or you're living in bubble. Essentially, there is a common underlying theme, and that is you are trying to avoid a specific emotion, whatever that is. And that is the main number one reason why people spiritual bypass. People spiritual bypass because it's hard to actually face the emotions, especially those that are unpleasant or uncomfortable, such as fear, anxiety, worry, doubts, or anything like that. So it kind of easier to kind of like, put a band-aid over it and like just pretend nothing is happening and pretending all is well. And that way, life can be good. But actually what they are essentially doing as they do this spiritual bypassing is that they are avoiding life because they are not wanting to see what they are meant to see. And they are living in this illusion bubble that they create for themselves. That is essentially what it looks like to spiritual bypass. And what I mean by using spirituality as a way to ignore a situation is this. I will use my personal example. So I have been doing spiritual bypassing for a long time before I suddenly wake up to it. So for me, I'm a big fan of Abraham Hicks, which is the leading teacher of law of attraction. So in the name of law of attraction, I avoid all negative emotions because, like you attract what you want. So you attract what you focus on. So if you want more positive experience, focus on the positive. So based on that concept, I only allow positive things inside my life and only allow myself to feel good all of the time. Now, this is not what law of attraction is truly about. That's another teaching altogether for another time. But I'm using that as like an excuse, right? I'm using that as a way to spiritual bypass, to ignore these unpleasant emotions that I have and just pretend nothing is happening. So you can see I'm exhibiting all of the signs of overly positive, feeling good, and living in a bubble. And specifically, I do that with my relationship with money. So I try to feel good about money when actually I really don't. So I am actually at the core of it avoiding money altogether. What I mean by that is this, like I avoided conversation about money. I avoided looking at my bank account. I avoided looking at my profit and loss, and just anything that requires numbers, I avoided it altogether. Why? Well, because law of attraction says I must feel good all the time. I must be positive all the time. So since doing this stuff doesn't make me feel good, then I'm not doing it. So that way I can attract what I want. And guess what? It doesn't work that way. The next thing I know, my bank account is in negative and I found myself in debt. And I was like, what happened? I thought I did everything. I thought I did the work. Well, I didn't really do the work. I thought I did it. I actually only did the work on the surface level, right? Like it's like using spirituality to just go rah-rah and pump myself up and feel good, but I was actually pretending and ignoring what is truly happening underlying the current. Like underlying this money situation, there is a deeper story behind it. The fact that I feel so emotionally charged about looking at the numbers means that there are unresolved wounds inside of me. There is this inner conflict inside of me, whether it is father wound, mother wound, starseed wound, whatever kind of wound. I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy and deserving. I have to sacrifice and work hard of money. Whatever the story is, there is something bubbling deep inside. But again, it's easier to ignore it, right? So I did spiritual bypassing and avoid looking at my numbers and found myself in a bad situation and wonder why. Well, it was because I avoided it. Like, how can I resolve the situation with money if I avoid looking at the money? It's kind of like, how are you going to resolve a conflict with your lover if you don't even want to talk to your lover? Get what I'm saying? So that's kind of my personal example of how I spiritual bypass using law of attraction and how I actually do it specifically with money. But it is the same thing whether it is your career, your love life, your health, or anything. Because how you do one thing is how you pretty much do everything. So it is crazy when I realize how this spiritual bypassing is actually blocking me from healing. It is only when I started to really, really dive deep into the divine feminine healing, the divine masculine healing, and eventually the relationship healing with money and relationship healing with myself and the divine, just dive deep into this healing process that I realized that, oh my God, I need to feel it to heal it. There is a reason why there is such a saying, if you have ever heard feel it to heal it, this is why. Because if I'm ignoring it by not feeling it, I'm blocking myself from the opportunity to heal. Understand that every unpleasant emotions or feelings that come up essentially is simply an invitation to heal a part of you. And if you keep blocking this invitation to heal, then you find yourself being stuck in a cycle, in a loop. It's like you're going through the same thing again and again, and you have done the work, but you wonder why you are still looping. That is because you are not getting to the root cause of the problem. Because you are pretending nothing is happening, you are avoiding, you are bypassing, remember? So when you allow yourself to actually stop avoiding these unpleasant emotions and to start to actually look at the problem itself, starting by having the awareness of what is happening and allowing yourself to feel it, only then you can finally heal it. It is only when I understand these divine feminine principles, where being in this feminine energy and learning to honor my feelings, accept my feelings, and really feel it to heal it, that's when everything changes. Not only now I feel really, really good about looking at my money, I was actually just looking through every single item that go in and out of my bank account the other day and feel good about it, when in the past I couldn't even think about the idea of money because it just made me cringe in the past. So not only I really feel good about money now, I actually really love and accept and honor myself now. There is this huge feeling of coming home into divine union with myself. And that is an amazing space to be in. And you can be in that space too. So start by taking the baby step to allow yourself to feel it, to heal it. And it doesn't mean that you have to feel it to heal it to the extreme end where you stay stuck in the house and cannot go out for the entire month because you're feeling it to heal it. Well, you don't have to go to the extremity. All you gotta do is starting by awareness. So the next time you catch yourself wanting to avoid an emotion, just acknowledge that and go like, oh, I see what I'm doing, but I'm allowing myself to feel it now, even if it's just for a few seconds and few breaths. And the more you allow yourself to feel it, the more you acknowledge it, the more room it is for heal. Because you cannot heal what you don't acknowledge. So stop trying to hide or run away or avoiding all of this. The more you give yourself the courage and the bravery to face it, the easier it will be in the longer run. And you don't actually have to do this on your own as well. You can find a buddy, a spiritual best friend who can keep you accountable in this process of feeling it to heal it. Or you can join a healing circle so you have a group of women or men to support you in your journey, or even get one on one mentorship if that makes you feel more supported. Either way, know that it's really important that you feel safe, supported, and helped during your healing journey, because only then you will feel safe enough to feel it and heal it with ease and grace. If you would love to know more about how you can actually feel it to heal it and you feel super ready to jump in, then check out some of my courses in the description below and I will work with you from there.